Conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. No, I'm obsessed with conspiracy theories, and today's video is like next level. We're talking about the moments when those crazy, no way that's true whispers turned out to be true, like actually true. Buckle up, you guys, because some of these are seriously messed up. We're going deep into government cover-ups, secret experiments, and stuff that'll make you question, like, everything. Chapter 1. Watergate. Not just a hotel, okay? Okay, so picture this. It's the 1970s, bell-bottoms are in, disco is life, and the President of the United States is a criminal mastermind. Okay, maybe not mastermind, but definitely involved in some shady stuff. The Watergate scandal was huge. Like, imagine thinking the most powerful person in the world is above breaking the law, and then BAM! Nixon and his crew get caught red-handed trying to cover up a break-in at the Watergate Hotel. It turned out this wasn't just some random robbery, it was all about spying on political rivals. Nixon tried to play it cool, deny, but the truth always comes out, right? Tapes were released, people talked, and it was a whole big mess. Nixon ended up resigning to avoid impeachment, which is like the ultimate political slap in the face. The Watergate scandal was like a reality check for everyone. It showed that even the president isn't above the law, and that sometimes the conspiracy theories are real. Chapter 2. MKUltra mind control is real. All right, this next one is straight out of a sci-fi movie, but I swear it's real. Imagine this. The CIA, you know, the super-secret spy agency, is secretly experimenting on people trying to control their minds. Sounds crazy, right? Well, that's exactly what MKUltra was. From the 1950s to the 70s, the CIA was basically dosing people up with LSD using hypnosis and who knows what else, all to try to create the perfect spies or something. Can you imagine being a part of that? Like, you're just living your life, and the next thing you know, you're tripping out and the government is trying to get inside your head. It's messed up. The really messed up part is that a lot of the people involved in these experiments had no idea what was going on. They were lied to, manipulated, and basically used as human guinea pigs. It wasn't until years later that the truth about MKUltra started to come out, and even now, we still don't know the full extent of what went on. Chapter 3, the Tuskegee syphilis study. This is just wrong. Okay guys, this one is honestly really disturbing. We're talking about the Tuskegee syphilis study, and trust me, it's one of the most unethical things the US government has ever done. Like, for real, this one's dark. For 40 years, from 1932 to 1972, the US Public Health Service basically used African-American men as lab rats. These men, mostly poor sharecroppers, were told they were being treated for bad blood, which was a catch-all term for various illnesses back then. But here's the horrible truth. They weren't actually being treated. The researchers wanted to study the natural progression of syphilis, even after penicillin became a proven treatment in the 1940s. They intentionally withheld treatment from these men just to see what would happen. Can you even imagine? These men were lied to, denied life-saving treatment, and many of them died from syphilis or related complications. Their families were also affected as the disease spread. It wasn't until a whistleblower stepped forward in 1972 that the study was finally exposed, leading to public outrage and eventually some major changes in medical ethics. It's a dark reminder that even the people who are supposed to be helping us can't always be trusted. Okay, so have you ever wondered if everything you see on the news is actually true? I mean, we all know media can be biased, but what if the government was secretly controlling what you see and hear? Sounds like a conspiracy theory, right? Well, Operation Mockingbird was a real CIA program that ran from the 1950s to the 1970s. And it was all about manipulating the media, like they were literally planting stories, using journalists as puppets, and trying to control the narrative. Think about that for a second. The CIA, the agency that's supposed to protect us, was secretly feeding us propaganda and trying to influence our opinions. It's kind of terrifying when you think about it. The whole thing was exposed in the 1970s by a Senate committee, and it led to some serious reforms within the CIA, but it makes you wonder, what else don't we know? Okay, we all know smoking is bad for you, right? Like, duh, but for decades, big tobacco, like the giant companies that make cigarettes, tried to convince everyone that it wasn't that big of a deal. They had these slick ad campaigns, paid off scientists, and did everything they could to downplay the risks of smoking. It was all about making money, even if it meant getting people hooked on a product they knew was harmful. But guess what? They knew the truth the whole time. Internal documents that came out in the 1990s showed that Big Tobacco was well aware of the dangers of smoking. Cancer, heart disease, the whole 9 yards, but they chose to hide it from the public. They lied to our faces, all for profit. It was a massive betrayal of public trust, and it led to millions of preventable deaths. Okay, so this one's a real doozy. Remember when I said sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction? The Iran-Contra affair is the perfect example. It all went down in the 1980s during the Reagan administration. Basically, the US government was secretly selling weapons to Iran, which was under an arms embargo at the time. Shady, right? But it gets even shadier. Instead of keeping the money from these arms sales, they were funneling it to the Contras, a rebel group in Nicaragua. The problem was Congress had specifically banned funding the Contras, so the Reagan administration was basically running a secret, illegal operation behind everyone's backs. It was a huge scandal when it came out, and it really damaged Reagan's reputation. It just goes to show that even the highest levels of government aren't always on the up and up. Chapter 7, COINTELPRO. They spied on who? Okay, guys, this one's about the FBI, and it's not pretty. We're talking about COINTELPRO, which stands for Counterintelligence Program. Sounds intense, right? Well, it was. From the 1950s to the 1970s, the FBI was basically spying on anyone they considered a threat to national security. And who did they consider a threat? Oh, you know, just civil rights activists, anti-war protesters, feminist groups. Basically, anyone who dared to speak out against the government. They were infiltrating these groups, spreading rumors, trying to turn people against each other, and even putting people in danger. It was a full-on campaign of intimidation and disruption, all because they were scared of dissent. Imagine being an activist, fighting for what you believe in, and then finding out that the FBI was secretly watching your every move, trying to sabotage your efforts. It was a dark chapter in American history, and it shows how easily power can be abused, even in a democracy. Okay guys, hold on to your hats because this one is seriously wild. We're talking about Operation Northwoods, and it's like something out of a spy thriller. Imagine this. It's the early 1960s, tensions with Cuba are high, and the US military comes up with a plan. A plan to stage fake terrorist attacks on American soil. Yes, you heard that right, fake attacks. The idea was to blame these attacks on Cuba, creating public outrage and giving the US a reason to invade. They were even talking about blowing up American ships, hijacking planes, you name it. Thankfully, this insane plan was never actually carried out. President Kennedy, to his credit, shut it down. But the fact that it was even considered is just chilling. It makes you realize that sometimes the line between reality and fiction can get really blurry. Okay, so remember that feeling you get when you think you're being watched? Well, it turns out we kind of are. Remember Edward Snowden, the guy who leaked all those classified documents from the NSA back in 2013? Well, those leaks revealed something huge. The NSA was, and probably still is, collecting massive amounts of data on ordinary citizens. We're talking phone calls, emails, internet searches, the whole 9 yards. They basically have access to everything we do online, which is kind of creepy, right? The government argued that this mass surveillance was necessary to prevent terrorism, but a lot of people felt like it was a huge invasion of privacy. It really makes you think twice about what you say and do online, knowing that someone might be listening in. Okay, so we've all seen The Godfather, right? Those classic gangster movies with the pinstripe suits, the Tommy guns, the whole bit. For a long time, the mafia seemed like something out of a movie. A bunch of tough guys running around, breaking the law, but not really a major force in the world. Well, guess what? The mafia was very real, and they were involved in some seriously shady stuff. We're talking about organized crime on a massive scale, gambling, loan sharking, drug trafficking, you name it. For decades, they operated in the shadows, using intimidation and violence to get their way. They had judges and politicians on their payroll, and they weren't afraid to use violence to silence anyone who crossed them. It wasn't until high-profile trials and investigations in the mid-20th century that the full extent of the mafia's power and reach was revealed. They weren't just a bunch of thugs in pinstripe suits. They were a sophisticated criminal organization with their fingers in everything. So, there you have it. 10 conspiracy theories that turned out to be 100% true. Crazy, right? It just goes to show that sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction, and that we should always be questioning what we're told, even if it comes from people in power. What do you guys think? Which one of these shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more mind-blowing content.